Two Bulls in a China Shop is brought to you by these great companies that are giving us money to let you listen to their stuff.
Bullshit, Kyle. We make this show. You and me. Two Bulls in a China Shop is brought to you by us.
Someone's got to pay the bills, Dan, because it's not our trading.
All right, roll them.
Do you know the risk factors for type 2 diabetes? Or what makes it more likely you or someone in your life might have the disease? With type 2 diabetes playing a growing role in the lives of so many, you need to know. In Project Power, a community program from the American Diabetes Association is here to help. Take our risk test today at diabetes.org/Project Power. You can avoid the risks of type 2. Project Power will help.
How about we heat things up tonight?
How so?
Get a little fresh, add some steam, sizzle, and spice.
Wait, you're talking about going to Outback again, aren't you? Fire things up at Outback Steakhouse. For a limited time, try our bloomin' fried shrimp or get fresh with our new strawberry salad. Go big with our bone-in ribeye or the filet and grilled shrimp on the barbie. Then cool off with a cucumber crush or peanut koala. Try them all before they're gone. Let's Outback.
You are listening to an entertainment program put together by a company called Financial Ineptitude. Anything said on this show is not an endorsement or professional advice. Would you really want to tell a court of law you were suing us because you thought taking financial advice from two idiots on a podcast put out by Financial Ineptitude was a good idea? Really? Clown hat smiley face.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the China Shop. You made it, and we're so thrilled you're here. We've got an exciting episode for you today. I'm Shopkeeper Dan. With me, as always, is Kyle, creator of FinancialIneptitude.com. Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, all things considered.
All things considered, right? That life shit just keeps popping up.
Things just keep happening, it seems like.
No rest for the wicked, or no rest for the trader, as it were. Okay, so here in the shop, another brilliant interview episode. We are joined today by Andrew of the Montana I hear.
Are there Montana?
No.
Yeah, definitely.
They killed my father.
Wait, did I miss a good Western?
Okay. Oh, definitely. I'm definitely associated with them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, geez. Well, Andrew, we kind of ran across you on Twitter because I saw you posting some amazing, just like psychology insights. And that's something that we've been kind of diving into more recently. Would you tell us just a little bit about your background, like how you got started, strategies, what you trade, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, totally. So I'm an intraday futures trader, mostly on the ES. Sometimes I jump on NQ and get ulcers. But mostly ES, intraday scalping, some intraday like swing or position trading. I trade kind of a combination of order flow and levels and, technical analysis stuff. But, I think like most of us, just trying to get in there and take advantage of what other people are doing, day to day. I've been doing it for a little bit. Few years. I think the 2020 got a lot of people psyched, and probably myself included. So did a lot of like position trading in 2020 with stocks before kind of just wanting to dedicate more time to it, and then getting into futures and then so obsessive, trading. Like once you get into it, you're just like how far can I go down the rabbit hole? So.
And it's a never-ending rabbit hole, it seems like, huh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's kind of like the beauty of it though, isn't it? You just like, I think every guy needs like an endless project. So trading sort of that.
It really is endless, isn't it?
Yeah. The never-ending woodwork.
It's endless. Yeah. Like you need something, you need something to keep you busy. Otherwise you make poor choices.
How do you do that then? Like, what do you do to keep yourself busy? Like, how do you keep yourself from executing something that you shouldn't?
Oh yeah. I mean, I often execute stuff I shouldn't. Just totally like, I mean, honestly, guys, like I work a lot as well as trade. So, like full-time job. I run another business on the side as well as like have clients that I work for. So, very busy over here. So I typically only trade the first, 2 hours of the day. And then just kind of watch the market the rest of the time with it like on lock, trying to not get involved. But like, impulse control was such a massive thing to handle. Like if you're sitting at a desk all day, like watching the market out of the corner of your eye, not getting in there. I mean, that seems like the biggest thing to, even get some kind of positive P&L. When I first started trading futures, was just like, stop clicking, right. So I spend a lot of time, I spend half my day just trying not to click. Like, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've watched way too many YouTube videos just trying to keep my mind off of like if I don't see a setup, like I'll wait for it to come to this level. What can I do in the meantime? Yeah,
and if I've like banked good points in the morning, like often I'll just like I'll close it down and just like get outside for a minute. Like sometimes trading gets you in that like you kind of build that fever pitch mindset. You're just like in it, like you're so psyched, and you've like banked some points, and you're like hungry for more. And even when the setup's not there, like you can't help but like get involved. And so, yeah, I sometimes I'll take like I'll head out for a couple hours in the middle of the day, like go for a bike ride, like walk the dog or whatever. And, and then I'll like come back and I'll work my like day job stuff in the evening, like in Globex when like, and then like, oh gosh, then if you get yourself in a trade, it's like more of a nightmare, but at least it's slow. So you like lose money slower.
I hate Globex because for me, it feels like I'm watching my stops get hit in slow motion.
Yeah. The inevitable pain is coming.
It's that scene from Austin Powers when he's like yelling at the steamroller to stop moving.
Oh yeah. Like, yeah. One of the best things I've done was like stop trading that garbage. I don't know if you guys like, I love fast pace, like the first couple hours, but like if I'm like down in a position, like it's unpleasant. It's probably the case but like Globex is like 1,000 times worse, right? Because you're like down for an hour and a half.
Yeah, sometimes it takes half an hour for a 10-tick candle to close. Sometimes it's insane.
It's brutal, yeah. Yeah, it's none of my business. Yeah.
So what you said you intraday trade, so you're not like swinging things. If you're doing futures, I assume it's more of a like, are you more of a scalper, like looking for like quick hits, like 2-3 points here and there?
Yeah. I mean, like this morning, like probably a lot of us, I was on the long bandwagon off the open, and just, and I'm just trading it. So I'm trading like a rotation, right? So like I hit a breakout and then I ride it till a consolidation. I scale out. Like if we break out of that consolidation, I hit it again. So I'm on like a 2K tick chart. But I'm not like a 1 point, 2 point guy. Like I like to try to get in typically with like a pretty tight stop and try to ride a move for 10 or 15 or 20. If in this market, like we've had such range.
Yeah.
So like you can kind of keep your risk tight. And if you get on the right side of it, like just kind of hang on for a minute,
You said you started in 2020. I'm assuming that you started with like stocks and options. So how did you? I want to know how you graduated to futures. Like, what got you hooked on that?
Yeah. So I had been like investing for a while, and then like kind of trading like a couple. You're just like not really paying attention, and then like 2020 was so active, and so I got into that, and I was like trading all the big names, like the obvious stuff that was going up was like so easy, to just kind of like get involved and like ride it, and then like exit, and then like I don't know, get a pizza, and then like look the next day for like what's happening, and then the market changed a little bit, 2021, and I was like, all right, that's cool, I'll start selling options, like that's the smart thing to do, and so I went down that road. I spent a lot of energy on that. And what I found was just like totally a control freak. So the idea that you'd have like you'd sell a put, buy a put, like take the spread, burn the theta, and there'd be all this wibble wobble in between. Like it just wasn't for me. I don't know. It was just, I couldn't control it in the way that I wanted to, and like the idea that you'd have like a 90% win rate just was not interesting. To me, just because of the pain of like holding the position
right
for a week and a half. Yeah, it's just like too much, and like I'm not a rocket scientist, so it was a little bit like, I know a lot of people think it's cool to know all this stuff about options, and like I've learned it all and then was like, this sucks. This is stupid. Like, honestly, I was like, I'd rather, like, my job is better than this. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I actually like working better than selling options. So I'm just going to do that. So then I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to stop selling these stupid options. And then we had, a little bit of time, things kind of were doing nothing. And I started just, the curiosity, of like leverage products and directional, like, oh, cool. Like, at first it was just like a futures contract is an option without theta. Like, this will be cool. Let me try that, you know, and then you take a couple dingers and you're like, oh, kind of the same.
Yeah. It's like crack almost.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. And so like, you blow up a $2,000 account and then you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is the same thing I was doing with selling options.
Just much faster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The tilt was different. So I kind of just moved over towards that because it seemed like the most pure product, to be honest. Like you spend enough time in options and you realize the level of manipulation. And, we see that just in the way markets move, but it felt like futures at least gave me kind of the best chance to be less manipulated. And whether that's true or not, that's kind of the case, is like bare bones. And that took me down the road, right? Once you're in futures, then you start looking at like order flow and like footprints and all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah. And then, then you're just like, you're done for. Like you're hooked.
Oh, God, what was I going to say? Then shit. God damn it. You said something and it triggered something in my head. Now I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with the options or the futures, like getting into it and that rabbit hole. Fuck. All right. Hang on. No, I got nothing there. Sorry. I kind of went through a similar path as you did, though. I think started out with like long-term investor for a long time, then started dabbling with options. I shied away from them for the longest time, and then got into the selling options. Like, 90% of these things expire worthless, or whatever the percentage is. Like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah, I'm so clever.
So then I was messing around with covered calls and cash secured puts, and trying to just increase the return on the positions that I was holding. But one of the things that I hated about selling an options contract is you have no control over when it exercises.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you want to roll it over, like when you got a week left until expiration. Like, I'll roll this over to the next month, and then you go log into your account and like, oh shit, where do my shares go?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I felt like I was caught in all these like options webs, it's like, oh, like I'd like to roll this one, but then maybe I'll add, like, actually I'm going to turn this one into like a fly, and like I'm going to do it. And it's just like, what a nightmare. You know what I end up doing? I end up paying fees. It's like, okay, cool. Like what a pain in the ass.
What's the other thing? The other thing that I always hate is when you get the move that you want, but it takes too long. So the theta burns away any profit that you'd have, and you find out that you're right back where you started.
Truly. Guys, like, I'd rather work at Home Depot, Like, it's insane,
right?
Like, you're over there, you're like, yes, like I had sold a spread in Goldman, and I was like, I got like this huge move in the morning, but I still had like 45 days left on the damn thing. So then it was like, oh, I made 47 cents.
Right. Too much time.
Yeah, totally. Like, how many things do I have to be right on? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not right that much, so.
Yeah. Well, I finally started having better success when I started sizing my options, like treating them as a swing and all or nothing. Like, I'm either going to hit my take profit or it's going to expire worthless. And that's when I finally started to have better luck with it.
Oh, interesting.
But I also had to reduce my position size in order to allow for that. So I'm not, taking, this 4-figure losses on, something that shouldn't be that big of.
Totally. It's like even more out of your control than normal. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
But I like what you said about the futures just feeling like more of a pure product. I mean, everybody sees the same order book, so there's no hiding that. There's no dark pools. The rotations just feel more like it feels more structure based, like it follows it better.
Yeah. You can just like show up every day and like farm the same field is how it felt to me too. Like I felt like, I had my watch list and like, oh, cool. Like today's tech's moving today, or like, oh, like healthcare's moving today. I was like watching all these sectors. And then I was like, I'm like, am I buying calls in in XLF? Like, what am I doing here today? And it felt like every morning I had to do all this work to try to figure out even where I should be playing,
Yeah. And you got to be an expert on every different asset too that you want to trade.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we're all kind of here for the easy money, aren't we? And not that it's easy, but I'm just saying like, oh my gosh, like chasing that around or like having a gaps list, all that, like, it's just like such bullshit. It's like, so, like ES is like, okay, you know what? ES, sometimes it doesn't move real great. Like sometimes it moves real slow and you're like bored to death, but I don't have to go, like I can have a committed relationship with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, cool. Like, there we go. Like, I know how you work, baby,
Did you ever dabble with currencies or Forex or anything like that?
No, I mean, like I'm underwater in like a tiny Ethereum position just for funsies.
I think I am too at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I was like, I like bought it because the price was so ridiculous. I was like, I'm going to bookmark this price. This is stupid. And, like, I don't know, a couple $100. It's like down 70% or something stupid,
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why we kind of found you and wanted to talk to you is because of the psychology focused posts that you were posting on Twitter. Like, how long did it take you to start to realize that was such a big part of your growth as a trader? No,
it's a super good question. So it's always been a big part of my life. So coming from like day job work in film and animation, a lot of character psychology. So like I spent a lot of time studying that in college and then like doing character performance work. Not like as an actor, but like, as like a creator. So, really trying to like get into the head of what the personalities were. And so that's been, then that goes over to like, well, what's my personality? Like what's in my head? And so I've spent a lot of time. I mean, I've spent the last 15 years kind of just like tracking my own thoughts as I go through like business development, as I go through like the struggles of like, it's like a performance-based career in film. And so, like what's going on in my head. So that was just something I was like really familiar with. So then when I got into trading, like all of us, like I thought it was about accounting. Like I was like, I've got to learn accounting. Like I'm not a math guy, but like I'll get this done. And then the more people I talked to, the more things I saw, I just realized like, oh my gosh, like this has almost nothing to do with accounting.
Right.
Like once you get, like I got spreadsheets, guys, but what I realized was like, that's not, I still like my brain still blows up the spreadsheet, and so I just realized like, oh my gosh, like this is so much about who you are and like your mindset and like, what are you trying to get in the market? Like, what does the market do? And like, how does that affect your decision making? And, and so then I just kind of started to chase that down. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like, let me lean on the skills that I have and try to express that. And then Twitter was just kind of fun. Like I sort of got on there just to like make some friends in the market. Like it's just like kind of a lonely game and thought I'd make some like connections and that seems to have worked, but I don't really have anything else to give Twitter except for like my thoughts about psychology. So I just kind of went for it. And I think it's been cool because I think it's been helpful to people. And I think like folks have responded well and, hopefully like, I don't know, hopefully some of those like wanderings in the woods of my own have like given people some insight to how they're thinking and what they're doing. Yeah,
I think so. The problem is though that the new trader, the person who could probably benefit most from hearing those messages, has no idea that that's a message that they need to hear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. They're like wrapped up in all the indicators and services and like a quick buck and all that bullshit stuff. Yeah.
I remember when we first started, I mean, we were chasing setups, like trying to find like, okay, what's a good setup to use? And then finally you learn, 2 years later, like, the setup is not necessarily that important. Like how well can you follow and execute it is more important.
Totally. Yeah. Like, oh, that setup I see once every 3 weeks,
Right.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like I was like a setup encyclopedia when I first started too, I think it's like and I was like really proud of that. I was like, I know every setup in the universe, and it's like, and I lose money on every one of them,
So what are your favorite setups then? Speaking of,
yeah. So I tend to like to go with whatever move's happening. So I'm not like a big fader. So I often kind of joke like, oh, I'm in here buying the high again. So I'll totally buy breakouts, and you just have to kind of be careful with that, right? And know that like who's underneath you. But I like those. So I think sometimes you can get going with the trend, man. You can just like work that tight stop. So I'm all about that. The more time I spend, just like you said, so the more time I spend, at first it was like, oh, like the 30-minute opening range breakout and then the 30-second opening range breakout. And the more time I spend with this, the more I realize what I want to do is I want to look at, so I use a TPO, I use a 15-minute chart, swing highs, swing lows. And then I'm on that little tiny tick chart, and I basically just want to look at where other people are positioned. Where do I think stops are? Where are we going to put pressure on that? What areas are going to be defended? And so I've kind of moved away from like really, ABC setups, like this is the setup, and like I could take a picture of it and I could share it with you. And I've moved much more towards like, can I map out where some positions are and like who's in trouble? Like where can I find, some support? Like, they're not going to want it to go below this, or they're not going to want it to go above that. And, like today we had on ES, somebody was holding 95 pretty hard, selling that area.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, that was like pretty cool. So like that's a tradable setup for me. It's like, well, cool. Like if we break this thing with some force, like we can really move. And obviously we didn't. And so you go, cool. Like if we can't, like then all of these stops that are building up are going to get flushed out. So
right.
That's so that's totally a setup. But how often are we going to see that? Every couple of weeks, maybe. That was pretty weird.
It seems like sometimes they're. I mean, like the one today was huge.
It's huge. Yes,
I haven't seen one that big, and granted, I haven't been doing it for this long. But I mean, 2,000, 3,000 lot icebergs, like those pop up fairly regularly.
Yeah, like, and I'll tell you, man, I think like all of us, like guys in futures who dabble in order flow, like love a good iceberg.
Oh, I love one. Yeah.
Love it. I love a good iceberg right off the open. Somebody throws down and starts absorbing off the open. I know we're going one way big, like I love it. But like that's pretty rare too. You know what I mean? You're like, if it happens, I want to be aware of it. But I can't show up every day being like, that's my setup. It's like,
I know, right?
I'm just going to starve to death.
So it sounds like you're a lot more intuitive then. You're focused a lot more on, like you said, DOM reading and order flow.
Totally. Yeah. Very discretionary, which is, that's a problem if you don't have if you don't have the mental part handled, we're making all these like discretionary decisions. So
every time I try to introduce like more order flow, I feel like it sets me back.
Oh,
because the longer I stare at like a DOM, like the easier it is to justify something that's not there.
Oh, you have to before, and I think over time you have to set your conviction and like not waver. Like I am going to do this today. Like I am intending to do this right here. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And when you get in the DOM, there can be no, oh, I don't know, let me just try this out. Like, cause then before you know it, you're like 30 points off size, and
that happens to me way too often. When I hear that voice in my head, like, oh, I just want to give this a try. Like that's now my, like, no more. Nope. You're not trading this.
No. Yeah, no, that's so I've been there too. And even still, like sometimes I'm like, I'm going to try this out. Well, like, thankfully, it was a third size position or something. You just like realize you're being a dumbass and you move on. But one of the things that I've found in that moment, so like instead of asking the question like, is like, like I should try this, because then you start wiggling your stop around, you start like scaling into like the wrong direction. Is instead when I try to interact with the DOM, I ask myself like, is this a turn? And I give myself a 2-point or a 3-point stop, like something pretty tight, and I just put it in and say, is this a turn? So the question for me isn't like, this could work. It's, it's like, I wonder if this is it. And then in that, like all of a sudden I have an intention of why I'm putting the order in.
I see.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's a subtle difference, but like I can take stops a lot easier if I just go, I wonder if that's the turn. And I hit it. And then if it works, I'm like, hey, that was the turn. And then I like add to it, I'm like, sweet.
Right.
And if it comes back and it stops me out, I'm like, no, it wasn't the turn.
Yeah, I really enjoy that, because I know there have been a million instances where like I'll pick a level, like, okay, this is my pullback level, and I'll get in the trade and I'll see the price action confirm this was not a pullback level. They're not selling or buying here like I anticipated.
Yeah.
But like I've got that stop and I'm like, well, I've got time. We'll see. But I've got that voice in my head being like, yeah, but what you were expecting didn't happen. And I'm like convincing myself to stay in the trade too long.
Oh man, that is the moment, right? So like if you can and it's this case for me too. Like, it's not perfect operation over here, but like, if in that moment, that's like the crossroads that's important, is like, am I wondering about, opening up to this idea more to find out if it's right? Like, if I can stop there and be like, no, like, you behave the way I am expecting you to behave, or I'm out of here. If I can make that right decision, if I can make that the right decision 90% of the time, like, I can have great months, basically. And if I can't, then like, I open myself up to all kinds of wishy-washy garbage in my P&L. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's your plan? Like, how do you stop yourself when you start to find yourself straying like outside of your plan? Like when you start getting a little too loosey-goosey and taking more losses?
Okay, that is a great question. Because we all do it, right? And you start to expand. You're like, oh, you know what? My 2-point stop should probably be a 6-point stop. And then you're like, I should scale into this, and then I should move this down and give it 47 points of range. And okay, yeah. So I find usually that it's motivated from something else. So like, I try to keep. So I know in my stats, if my win rate gets too high, I have a problem. It's one of the first identifiers for me. If my win rate is too high, it means I'm being too cautious. It means I'm starting to get afraid to lose. And so often I'll tighten up my stop and just see how it sounds so artsy fartsy, guys, but like, I see how it makes me feel, like, to take the stop a couple of times. If I start getting irritated and frustrated, then I have like a P&L attachment issue. So then I go, look, this isn't where I need to be. And I'll be honest, the way I fix it is I like go fly fishing, like get out, go out into the woods. This is the way I deal with it. And I just remember like kind of what this is all about. Like, markets are meaningless. Like, this is all just like a bunch of meaningless garbage. And I'm here to make, the most of that meaninglessness, but ultimately, like, I have to detach. And so if I start making those decisions, I have to move away from, whatever that attachment is. Again, a lot of times, like, I'll set goals. Like, I think we all do that, right? Like, I'm intending to have this monthly goal, or like, I want to build my account to XYZ, or even just like, there's opportunity in this market right now, and I don't want to miss out on that opportunity, And those things often make me make weird decisions. And so when I start doing that, I start like, I review my trades at the end of every day. And when I see a couple that got a little off sides, or I open the stop up and then added to it. And maybe I even got out okay. A lot of times, it rotates back your way.
Right.
You get out all right, and I've just found that that's always pretty much like an attachment issue. It's not usually, for me, different for everybody. It's not so much that I don't want to be wrong, right? It's like, well, I don't want to I don't want to go backwards, or I don't know. I assume something about trading.
For me, it's like it starts to erode my confidence in what I'm doing. Like when I start taking like 6 losses in a row, doing like following, a set strategy and like actually sticking to it. And I take those losses, and then I start to question like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my setup? When, 6 losses isn't a big deal though. I mean, that's well with it when you're looking at a 40% win rate. Like, that's going to happen.
Totally. Oh, that's a great point. And I've absolutely been there. And then you go like, oh, well, maybe I'm just like trading wrong, and I should like open this up a little bit. And I think that's where being really sure, you got to put so much time into just like being really sure about what you're going to interact with. So, in this market, again, I've been trading with a really tight stop the last few weeks, and if it's getting hit like 3 times, I might be right. But what I'm trying to take in that information as is like, yeah, but this moment's not your moment, So like, this isn't your moment, man. And it might go up, and you might be kind of right about this level, but the way it's working isn't giving you access. Like, like she doesn't want to cuddle, like get off the market, And I think that's been really helpful to me, like read between the lines, man, Why
do you think it's so hard to step away sometimes? I know I have a hard time, like when I feel like I'm not at my, peak performance, like making the decision to just close up shop and like, just come back tomorrow.
How hard is it to close up shop when you're green? Like not that hard, probably.
A lot easier. Yeah.
It's a lot easier. Yeah. So I think you feel like you have unfinished business, and you feel like I don't want to leave it like this. I don't want to leave this mess. Like
right.
I think a lot of us too, a lot of type A's in the market. So, like when we start a job, we want to finish the job. And when we like get in there, you take a couple hits and you just, it turns in the, maybe it's fight or flight, but I just think it kind of makes us like aggressive and, makes us want to get in there and finish what we started. And we often finish what we started with a blown account,
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it for me anyway. I'll say I agree with you guys. It's harder for me to walk away when I'm red.
I just mean even like before the day even starts. Like if you didn't get enough sleep the night before, or you slept in and like didn't get your morning routine, or take your mental stock of yourself, and like there's just too many external things going around, and you shouldn't be. Yeah, like you're just not in a good place to be trading. It's so hard to even then recognize that and be like, you know what, I'm going to do more damage. Yeah, if I try to trade through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you're like, market opens and then like you're thinking about getting in a trade, and then like for me, like my kids are here, like I'm in my house, so like kids run in and are like looking out the window in my office and like screaming about stuff. I'm like, this is a day I blow accounts, And I think the only way to learn that is to do it, and then see it, and then like I think we only really grow through that because of pain. So like you've like experienced the pain before, and then you go, wow, like the pain of missing out on the market today is less painful than whatever I'm going to experience by engaging with it, and so I think for me that's been the case. Yeah.
Do you think it helps to like track metrics, or like actually like do you have any way of actually tracking like, okay, this is how I felt today, this is how I traded today, this is...
I do track a lot. Like I journal a lot, like probably an annoying amount. But like I put a lot out there for myself to see and read. Mm-hmm. And I don't do it necessarily to like go back and review. I kind of just do it so that I can see what I'm thinking on paper,
Almost like an outlet.
Just an outlet. Yeah, exactly. And like, then I can like leave it behind. So I track my normal stats as well, right? Like I upload all my trades, and then I journal what I'm thinking, but I tend to do that towards like, I tend to deal with it in blocks. So I think the wrong way to journal with trading is like, oh, today, like I this little thing and that little thing. I think you want to be like working on something specific. Like right now, like in your example is like, I'm trying to only trade when I can do it well. Like don't put me out on the court unless I'm in my A game. And so then you're just journaling only about that one thing for a while, and so then you're just like, so like for me right now, part of the tight stops thing is like, it's irritating, like you said, to take 6 stops in a row. So like I'm journaling about my experience getting my stops hit, and like I had a ratio this morning of like 8-1, right? So like very high, like great runners and getting stopped out a few times. But being able to let those runners run, which is excellent. But I'll tell you what, like we're trading that high up into 95, and like taking stops up there is annoying. And so I want to write down like, okay, cool. Like I got kind of irritated, like with that many stops in a row, and maybe it started to change my behavior. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I've already done this once, but I'm going to do this like once today, but I'm going to continue to do this. Is I'm going to go out, I go to a quiet place, or I go to my backyard, I sit under a tree, and I just visualize myself taking those stops and getting really irritated. And what does that feel like? And what does it feel like to stop? And how do I create some neural pathways to like get through that experience so that I can take those stops better next time? And I did fine, like I made good decisions, but I want to reduce the irritation. I want to reduce the pain of that experience, by putting myself there kind of outside of the court, like outside of the actual game.
I like that idea. That's the first time I've heard somebody mention that, but you kind of try to live it without the consequences.
Investor Loan Source is a private money lender that provides investment property loans to real estate investors.
What do they offer?
Well, Kyle, they use 100% private capital, offering a variety of products, including fix and flip loans, commercial loans, and hard money loans.
Interesting. And where are they available?
Well, glad you asked. They currently lend in 25 states and are quite eager to talk about your real estate project with you.
So, where can we contact these guys?
Oh, it's easy, Kyle. It's easy. We can contact them today at 409-735-6267 or find them online visiting www.ils.cash.
What was that number again?
It's as easy as pie, 409-735-6267. Contact them today.
What was the name again?
Investor Loan Source. Find them at ils.cash.
Yeah.
To just get I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same thing as going through, like a live trade, but it should help, right?
It should help. Yeah, I think it helps a ton. Like I had to go through that with Impulse, and I did a ton of Impulse visualization, and that really helped. And I'm 90% less impulsive now.
Can you explain how that exercise worked with the Impulse?
Yeah. So, like for instance, right? So, well, what do we all like to do? Like we all like to buy things that look like they're good to buy, right? So whether that's too cheap or it's too high, we tend to like to engage in weird moments. And so what I would do is I would just replicate the same experience. So like, let's say you had a gap up day and the market was, let's say, like today, and you have two scenarios that are likely, you have fill the gap or you have gap and go. And so I would sit there and I would close my eyes and I would think through, what does the gap and go look like? How do I confirm that trade? And how do I would imagine myself taking a deep breath, big green candles, on my tick chart. So I've got like a few candles stacking up. We come into a level and I would just think through, what does it look like to wait for a pullback? Where do I want to get involved in this thing? Do I want to get on it? Do I want to fade it? Right? What's the feeling? And so I would just work through that. Or for instance, yesterday we had a nice move and then we came down after the open and, and I've done a ton of visualization where I have specific levels when we come down, like we gap up like that, or we have some sort of overnight buying, like I want to engage at certain levels below the open only. And so, I visualize price coming down, looking kind of good and me not taking it because it wasn't quite at my level yet. Right. And then I would visualize it coming back up through the open price, showing me a bid, and then looking for the next move. So, you kind of visualize yourself not getting the opportunity that you want.
Right. Yes.
And then process, do you know what I'm saying? And then process through how am I going to behave this way? And then when you're in it and it's happening, you're like, no, like I interact with it in this specific way. Yeah,
you don't want the first time you're experiencing whatever you're experiencing to be when it matters.
Yeah, like when there's money on the line, you know what I mean? And then for me, I don't know how you guys are. For me, there's a lot more at risk each day than just money. Like there's like my mental state, like my ability to carry on with my family and my other work requirements and potentially interacting poorly with the market or being a person I don't want to be in the market makes me a person I don't want to be in real life. And so I want those things to really be paired.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's a really great point.
Well said. Yeah. That is, I actually have found myself struggling with that fairly recently. And I'm still trying to figure out how to actually cope with that. I have a bad day in the markets and then I'm not chatting with my wife. I'm not, sharing and it's just she doesn't understand.
Oh yeah, and she doesn't care.
Why is he so cold today? Like he's just sitting there. Yeah.
Why is he drinking so much? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
What does that look like? I mean, what's the behavior? If you can give kind of an idea of what's the behavior that you're seeing where you're like, oh, I don't love it. Is it just taking a loss like part of your normal stats, or is it kind of outside of that?
It's when I know I'm making bad decisions. Like I can live. It's still painful, but it's easier to handle when I take a trade and I look at it. And when I go back and look at it, and I say oh, I see what I saw. With the information I had at the time, this was a good trade. It just didn't go my way. It's the ones where when I start going outside of that and then I find myself what was I thinking here? And then your mind just starts going into some really dark places sometimes.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
The swings from I'm the best thing in the world to I'm the worst fucking person.
Yeah.
What am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Look, if you haven't cried at your desk, you're not trading. All right. Yeah. That's just the reality. I don't care how tough everybody wants to be. If you haven't cried at your desk, you're not putting money out there. I don't give a shit.
I don't think I've ever actually shed actual tears, but I've felt like there's an empty hole in my chest a few times.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's very common. I know that feeling well. Dude, I totally get it. I totally get that. And I think, I've been in that experience, and I'm sure I'll have that experience still plenty out into the future, right? This isn't complete in any way, but I'm really trying to channel what is that like, and is it better? I know that feeling's coming. Do you know what I mean? I know that experience is on the other side of these choices. Are these still the choices I want to make? And I think it only comes from time. You can tell when the bid gets turned on, right? You can tell when algos are running right now. That's only come from seat time. You can't I don't know, you can't like read about that in a blog post and then like show up to the market and be like, oh,
right,
I'm long because algos, you know? And I think that's what makes a trader. I think going through that pain is what makes you actually capable of trading. You know?
Well, like we're in a very unique position with starting this podcast and getting to talk to some just amazing, successful traders that have been more than willing to try to, you know, pour that information into our heads, and still took, you know, years before we even have any semblance of hoping to be profitable.
Totally.
and that's with somebody giving you all the information. Like, trying to do that on your own when you don't even know what you don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot of times information is like we have this false understanding of information. You're like, well, I have the information. I should be able to do the thing. It's like, yeah, but you got zero skill, you know?
Yeah.
It's like such a skill.
Listen, Junior, this is how you throw a fastball. Where's the 95 heater?
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like, like I got this twig arm, you know, it's totally different and no experience with it.
I told you, rotate your hips.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like,
how do I do
that? Stop hitting me, Dad.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue.
That's a whole nother. No, but trading is so much like that, though, right? Like, I think again, we want to see like there's a positive expectancy on this setup. Look at the, you know, this is how you do it, and then what we don't realize is like this is a skill, man. It's such a skill, and so I related a lot to some of the like extreme sports stuff that I've done, like mountain biking and rock climbing, and it's. You know, I got like, for instance, like I'm out here in the Rockies and I ride like with these extremely talented, you know, like mountain bikers who are like bombing these crazy drops. And they're like, oh, you know, just drop your hips over this seat and like lean back. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't, you know, like take me to the, and you know, it took me a long time, like to get comfortable with that. Just like, okay, I see you do it. That was cool. And I see the rock and I get how gravity works, but like this has nothing to do with me yet. I don't have the skill. And I think you have to really build that in with trading too.
Well, good that you still have your self-preservation genes.
Yeah. I mean, guys, I've taken a lot of falls over the handlebars on that mountain bike.
Well, and we've all seen the guy that's like, oh, that's how you do it? Okay. Like this. And then nope.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No. Okay. Wow. It's different when I do it. Trading, like you just have to be so okay with just being absolute garbage at something that you care a lot about, you know? And I think that's
a really hard thing.
It's so hard, man. Like we care so much about it. And it's so, you know, the money's meaningful, like the potential is meaningful. And I think like, you know, and then what, you've got to like just fail repeatedly into that. Like that's what makes it so hard.
What are some of the things like you wish you had learned sooner? Like if you could go back and talk to yourself in 2020, like what were some of the things that you'd tell yourself?
Okay, I would say two things. Well, I'll just let me caveat that answer because I feel like with the amount of information, with the people that I've met along the way, like I've just had so many great people reach out and give me such good information. Just really brilliant stuff. And, you know, stuff that 10 years ago wasn't available. So I can't answer that question without first saying like, I'm so grateful for the information that is available. And I'm like really thankful that it came fast, you know? So like some things that I learned were, you know, obviously just like how markets move, basic TNA stuff, like, technical analysis stuff, like basic order flow, like what is absorption, whether you even actively trade it, that's helpful to just like know how markets move and like what's going on. You know, then like there's a lot of good stuff. Like people are making psychology a focus. So like early on I was reading, you know, Mark Douglas books and kind of moving through that. So I feel like I was really thankful for that. I think the thing, I don't know if you guys have seen that video. I think this for me, for my personality, this was helpful. So I came into markets really wanting to do it right. And I think that's good. I think we all kind of probably do that, wanting to do it right. But it was a little too precious for me. And I have not had like some massive drawdown in my personal accounts. Like things are okay. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of worked. That's great. And I'm really thankful for that. But there's the video of the guy drawing the graph, the find out, fuck around graph. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Oh, I think that's something that's been popping up recently, right?
So funny. Yeah. I think I retweeted it from somebody, but like, I think I would have given myself permission to fuck around a little bit more.
Really?
And just like, I mean, I know, and I've been there and I've done all that. And like, I've kind of moved through that now, but I think I would have just said like, hey man, like you're gonna suck. Like, it's not gonna be perfect. Like all this preciousness that you're applying to it isn't like be bad, like be bad. And I think I came in wanting to be like, no, I want to be good from the start. And I don't know, maybe that's unique to me, but like, I'm sure there are people out there who feel the same way. As like, I came in and the whole idea was really precious. You hear so many people like blow up so much stuff and like the failure rate is so high. And so I was like, right from day one, it was like, I'm not going to be that guy.
Right.
And I think that's all good, but it's a lot of pressure. And so then I think I would have told myself, like, don't be so hard on yourself, like while you're learning to walk, you know?
I think my worst days typically come when I've been following my structure, my rules like too closely. Now that you mention it, because it almost feels like you just need a release.
That's exactly the experience. Is like I have just like, especially early on, like I'd stack up, 3 weeks of all green days and then blow it the next day, and such a boom and buster. And it was because of that. It's because I had all this pressure on myself. It was like, look, maybe if you were like just a little shittier the other days, you'd have kept the money on that day, but you're so precious about it all.
Right.
So, that was a big thing for me, man. So that's what I would totally say. Yeah.
Yeah. Being okay with losing. That's a hard thing to wrap your head around, but it's something that you have to. I mean, 40% win rate. I mean, 60% losers.
Yes. And like, how do you react with those losers? Like, do you lose hope? Like if you're, some people come in and they're asking questions to the market every time they put on a trade, like, who am I? Like, am I good enough? Am I able to do this? And that 40% win rate ain't going to work if you're always looking for validation in the market. So it's super tough. It's a super complicated item. Yeah.
One of the things that I've started doing that's been actually keeping me out of some shitty trade. That was one of the points I was trying to remember earlier. Was when I look at something and I get that thought that pops up that says like, oh, I want to try this out. Like, then I look at it again and I ask myself, like, what am I expecting out of this? Like, what's the best case scenario? And if the risk to reward isn't right there, like, okay, best case is it comes down to these rotations and that's like 3 points away from where my entry would be. Like, what's the point? Why do I want this so bad?
Yep. Yeah. You know what? I'll catch it on the way back up. You know? Yeah. So tough. It's so tough. The losing thing is so tough. And like kind of giving yourself the space to do it and then asking the right questions when you enter into a trade. And again, like we got all these tools. Like I know you guys do stuff with like OFL, like I'm in there with those guys and they just like have created awesome tools. Like I have every reason to succeed. And usually the reason I don't succeed is because I'm asking the wrong questions. Like I'm in the wrong state of mind. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the tools. It's not the strategy. It's the person behind the mouse.
Yep, totally. Yep, it's my fault.
Yeah, I think that was something you actually tweeted a couple days ago. When you're winning, it's you. When you're losing, it's you.
Yeah. It's been a massive realization for me over the last few weeks. And so, I was just kind of piggybacking on something I saw and I loved, and I didn't realize that. Like, I think Duke put out a tweet about that, and it's like really powerful. It's this powerful idea where we're always looking for a new, looking for a new indicator. You're looking for like a new read on the footprint chart or whatever. Let me just like study the TPO more, or let me learn about, I don't know, yield curves or VIX. I don't even know. Right. And the like, it's my clicking. Like, do I trust myself? Am I worthy of giving myself money?
Well, we still got a little bit of time left. Should we, I want to hear more about your studio and like what you do with animation.
Oh yeah. So I've been doing that for a long time, guys. Like I have a fine arts degree, which is actually, it's interesting because it's kind of helpful with trading, like we've talked about, and even like you can approach the market creatively, but sometimes that creativity is unhelpful in the market. So that's an interesting problem. But yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I've worked on some movies. I worked on some Ice Age movies. I worked on Life of Pi. I did all that, and it was really good. It was really positive. Like that was kind of my big dream, it's like get in and.
Did you do were you the guy who did the squirrel and the acorn?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did some. I did some of the sloth, the sloth with the eyeballs that are different sizes, and it was a good time. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So pretty wild. Yeah. I loved it. I loved it. And I'll be honest though, you get into that and you're working 100-hour weeks and once you pay back your student loans, you're like, well, what's next?
Right.
And so I think trading is interestingly high performance, in the same way. I know people probably don't think of that when you go to like creative stuff, but, everybody wants a seat at those film studios. Everybody wants your chair. And so you're showing up and performing. And so, like I was working on Life of Pi and like before meetings, they would say like, don't show your work unless it's Oscar worthy. And it was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just set that standard now.
Yeah, guys, like, is that for real? You know what I mean? So it's tough. But it was really good. And I loved that. So trading in a lot of ways is the same. And so they set that high expectation of like, don't show it unless it's Oscar worthy. And then you show it and they're like they rip it to shreds, It's like very, very critical. It's like, this is not at all up to this. I mean, they're nice, but you just end up with rejection a lot. And it took me a long time to get comfortable with that in my creative.
Do you think
fields.
those experiences helped you when you did move into trading?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like honestly, I don't know how people try to learn that kind of rejection, like the level of rejection that's required in trading. I don't know how you learn it with like actual money on the line in a binary event like trading. Mm-hmm. It's so hard. It's so much easier when you can go back and fix it. Do you know what I mean? Like
right.
If you got stopped out and then they could be like, well, where would you actually put your stop in your entry? And you're like, oh, I guess I'd put it here. Like that would be much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me a time machine. That'd be amazing.
Totally. It'd be amazing. And like when you're making a movie, they're like, this is absolute garbage. You're like, okay, cool. Let me go back to my desk and I'll fix it. I'll make it good. I promise. And, you could do that. So I don't know how it's so hard. It's so hard to do it in trading.
Well, is it at least constructive? Like, do they show you they give you ideas of like what to improve, or they just tell you it's trash and get the fuck out of here?
Oh, it depends, man. It depends. Like usually the bigger the movie, actually the cooler people are. Like the
really?
The more helpful they are. Like the smaller the movie, the more like insecure and like bigger egos there are. Because do you get what I'm saying?
Because so they're too good for the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. And they're
that
just
mentality.
Like. Totally. Yeah, it's that. And they're like they have a lot to prove. And it gets really like the human element is pretty high there as well, just like it is in trading. Well,
it kind of makes sense too, that I just think about it, like a smaller project is going to end up probably being more like a passion project, right?
Totally.
Like there's going to be a lot more emotional attachment to that as opposed to like a big budget. Like this is a job. We're here to execute.
Yeah, that's you nailed it. That's exactly it. And it's so precious to the director to like have everything the way they want. In their head. It's like, dude, you're gonna have to let it go. Like you're handing this to 200 people who are going to build it, and it's going to turn out differently than you expected. But it's going to be some turbulence.
What's that saying you were telling me, Dan, about making a movie? You make 3 different movies.
Oh yeah. The movie that's written becomes a new movie when it gets sold, and then it becomes a new movie when it gets made.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's like the final thing is like looks nothing like the original thing, except for maybe they're the same type of animal if it's a cartoon.
My favorite example is Julia Roberts' Pretty Woman was a really gritty drama when it was written.
Really?
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Funny.
The screenplay was like a really gritty, gut-wrenching drama about this prostitute trying to find a better life, and it becomes a romantic comedy.
And then they got Richard Gere.
Yeah.
Who's like the epitome of adultery, I think.
Yeah, exactly. You end up having to like work with the pieces you got. You're like, all right, those are the actors. Then you're like, okay, here's the crew, and like these are the locations we can get. And then you end up like, here's how it tests. Like it tests poorly here and it tests well here, and like it evolves into something completely different. Yeah.
How often is the person who writes the movie like on board when the movie gets made? Because I see a lot of times like the scripts get passed off for rewrites to like completely different people.
Yeah, usually whoever came up with it originally kind of has nothing to do with it later on. Like they sell the rights and they're happy and like sitting on the beach.
I was just gonna say, I know these days it's all written by committee. Nobody like writes a script and gets it made anymore, especially with animated movies. Like Pixar's got a team of writers.
Oh gosh,
that just on salary, that just write.
Yep, that's when you see like screenplay by, unless their name carries over into something else, like they were happy to let the committee take over. And, you know, I'll be honest with you guys, filmmaking is there's some films that come out that are great, but it's really lost a lot of its adventure. You know, like what do we got? We got like 80% of movies or sequels are based on something else. Like, where's the adventure here? You know?
Yeah.
It's like nobody's willing to take a risk in that big. Now, you know, it's Hollywood's so big. It's like we can't take risks. Like we're such a big machine.
Yeah. I mean, a risk is going to cost you $150 million.
Totally. You know, and that's like, you know, so where's the creativity there? Like, where's the ability to like, you know, build something new and like try something out? And, you know, it's like, it's very difficult. And you're part of that big machine, very out of your control.
That's why I got so mad when Rings of Power sucked. It was like, come on, you spent so much money, you put it through the machine. How come you put out a crappy
product? I can't even bother. Yeah.
Did it not get better?
Like Lord of the Rings, like the original, you know, it's like such a risk. It was such like an adventure to make that film and make those films. And, you know, you see all that, like the human mind really pays attention when there's something on the line and like we're spearing into the unknown. And I think that's such like a beautiful thing. Like that's where we really do our best work, is when we're like alert and making something that's not been made before. And then you go, cool, like let's make it an industry.
Well, was Lord of the Rings really that big of a risk though?
No, I mean, it really wasn't.
Because I mean, there's a huge fan base. And you got a successful book series going on it.
Yeah.
I mean, like Hunger Games, like that, those were set up to succeed. Harry Potter.
Yeah, you're right. Especially Hunger Games and Harry Potter. But like, you know, I mean, the size, like the scale and the state of visual effects at the time, like they definitely were out. They were out over their skis for sure.
Yeah.
And there's no way they could have nobody would have taken a risk that big from an effects side, from a story side, like from a character scope side, if they didn't have books to base it on already. So, you know, it just would have been way too much risk.
It mitigated some of it.
Yeah, having that fan base said like, hey, we can kind of push this a little bit. So in my opinion,
what's the latest movie was the biggest risk? Like, what was the biggest risk that come out lately?
Oh, that's such a good question. That's such a hard question. I have no idea even where to go with that one, to be honest with you. I mean, there's some movies that I liked that I thought were interesting, but guys, I've just kind of been trading the last 2 years.
I know, right?
I don't know, guys.
I was just curious.
I've been watching this TPO chart. Yeah. You know, I honestly, so I work in this business. I work on it all day. Like we do video game work too. So like done a lot of like Call of Duty and like League of Legends stuff and some pretty big projects there. And I do that. And then honestly, like every other moment is set in replay. So, I'm not really sure. Watching a lot of replay, guys.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because I go to the movies a lot. I really love the big screen experience. I love stories told visually. I love the art. And I'm trying to think of a movie that wasn't already some book, already, you know, some comic book. You know, I'm trying to think of one that I've gone and seen within the last couple of years, and I can't think of one. Maybe what was Knives Out? Was that a book? Was that an original one? I don't know.
Dude, I love Knives Out. That was great.
I don't know. That was a good movie, though.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, that was super fresh. Yeah.
What was that one with Ryan Reynolds where he was an NPC in a video game?
Oh, NPC?
I think. Was that NPC Man or something? I don't know.
I don't know. But that's a.
I remember what it's called. That one I thought was really good.
Yeah. That was new. That was fresh.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was written by, but again, was that a book or not?
I don't think so. But if you remember, I had that idea 10 years before.
That's
true. So I'm predisposed to liking that
Free
one.
Guy. That was what it was.
All right, yeah. Free Guy, thank you. Yes. Andrew, well, if you can do us a favor and pass on to the people that you work with that we like to see fresh ideas and not same old rehashed.
Yeah, I'll do it, guys. I'm pretty used to rejection, guys. I'll definitely throw that out there.
You got that done. Sweet.
I got it done. Yeah. Emails written.
What can we do for him in exchange for that, Dan? What can we offer?
camaraderie and companionship.
We pledge to take our families to that movie when it comes out. I think that's the best we can do.
Okay.
Yes.
I think, you know what? They're going to see that as highly valuable. Definitely.
Yes, they should.
Yeah.
Because when was the last time I went to a movie theater?
I don't know.
There you go. Yeah.
I've been going, and they're pretty empty. It's pretty barren landscape these days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
You know what? Maybe it's the best time to go see movies, you know?
Oh, yeah, I can be on my phone the whole time and nobody complains.
Yeah. Maybe that's the best. Yeah. What did we just see? We just went and saw, what was that? Bullet Train? That was fun. I liked Bullet Train.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys see that one?
I am not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's the Brad Pitt kicking ass on a train.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, and the theater was pretty empty, but I'm kind of into the empty theater thing. That's like kind of
That's my favorite. I'm introvert by nature, so
yeah.
If I can get the theater to myself, I'd love to go to it. It's I'm sitting packed arm to arm with other people. Like, there's too many people here. Go away.
Yeah. This is the top.
Yeah.
Yep. People like you are killing the industry, Kyle.
Oh, I am. Yeah. The screen TV and VR was the worst thing to happen for movie theaters.
Oh, right? For sure. Yeah.
Now I can just put a headset on and watch a movie, and it feels like I'm at a theater.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they'll fare. I don't know. I'm sure they'll do fine. You know, I'm sure like the best ones will pull through and all that sort of stuff. Like,
well, it's not good for theaters, but I mean, the content is still going to get made. It's the demand for that is I can't imagine is ever going to go away.
Yeah, like 2020 2008. You know, it's like at first it was like,
right?
You know, everything's blowing up, and then everybody's like, instead of Hawaii, we're going to see movies. And so I was like crazy busy, like total, you know, it was nuts. And then same thing with 2020, obviously, like everybody's like, what's going on? And we just got hammered with work, right? Because everybody's like at home playing video games and watching TV and the budgets just went crazy. So, yeah.
Is there anything really exciting coming out?
You know, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Again, like I'm so in the like trenches with it.
Well, I meant what you're working on. Like, if there's anything that you've got coming up that you think is going to be good.
No.
Okay.
I'm working on a bunch of stuff for Riot Games right now. So it's big stuff. It's people know it. But you know, it's not like. It's not that exciting. We did a couple of series for Netflix called Love, Death, and Robots that were pretty good. Pretty weird.
Sounds familiar.
The Netflix stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty like we were able to be pretty creative there and do some pretty weird stuff. So Netflix, Love, Death, and Robots. We did like a few episodes in each series. Which was cool. I mean, you know, parts of episodes in each series. It gets parsed out. Like, if you work on a movie for like 9 months and then you walk away with like a minute of work, you're like you think you're a big deal, you know? I mean, it's still like I bring it up in conversation. I'm like, you know, I did like a minute of Life of Pi.
Get right.
And people are like,
my question would be, which minute? I want to go find it. Like, which minute? Let me see.
Right.
Was it the tiger? Was it the fish?
If you go watch it when the kid first gets in the boat off the big boat, he's in the little lifeboat. I did about a minute in there. Yeah.
Awesome.
When he first gets in the boat, I'm gonna find that on YouTube and link that in the episode description.
Yeah, go give it a look. Yeah. All the animals. Yeah. It's like animating the animals next to a kid in a pool. You know,
right? 9 months of your life for that minute.
9 months, like at 80 to 100 hours a week. So
so intensive.
Pretty. Yeah. So then you're like, you walk away just like in a daze, like you're just.
So which is harder then, trading or that?
Man, I don't know. I think I picked up trading faster. To be honest,
I think the fact that you can't answer that question is an answer in and of itself.
Yeah, trading's hard, right? Trading's always hard. Yeah. Now my like day job, like, you know, I'm pretty good at it, so I just kind of do it. But when I first started, I mean, the first 7 years of it were just a nightmare, you know, of like teetering between like this, I'm never going to get it, and like I think I can maybe do this probably. And so trading feels so similar to that. It feels like you know, you oscillate between like, I'm never going to get this. Like, I'm a total moron and like, I'm a hopeless case. And then you're like, you know, I think I might. And then you're like, you get a couple winners and you feel like big dog, and then like this is the dream. I'm going to do it forever, and then take a couple
It's the same thing that keeps you coming back to golf. You get one good shot around, and you're like, I just got to do that every time, and then it's easy.
It's that lie that we tell ourselves that keeps us on the addiction wheel. Yeah.
All right, well, Andrew, where can people find you if they want to follow you?
Good. Just check me out, Wasatch Squatch, Wasatch_Squatch on Twitter, Bigfoot, and I'm over there posting nonsense most days. Yeah, trying to keep myself out of trouble on the market. Yeah.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I see a lot of good stuff coming from you.
Right on, man. I appreciate that.
And we'll probably have to get you back so we can actually discuss Bigfoot, because
what is that?
Story by the day.
Yeah. We'll save it for the next one. I won't give it away.
We should also tap you for our roundtable Square Traders stuff that we do.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll definitely put you on the list there.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I love it. It's one of the things where you start making new connections for people is just like so exciting. So
yes,
love it.
All right, Dan, you can close us up.
Well, folks, thanks for sticking around to the end. We hope you learned something and had a good time. I know I did. Thank you again, Andrew, for coming by the shop. This has been fucking fantastic, man. Seriously, great stuff. Great time having you here.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was a blast.
Oh yeah.
Well, for some reason, people like talking to us, and we still haven't figured out why.
Still haven't figured it out.
As long as they keep coming, we'll keep doing it.
And on that note, folks, we will be back at you soon. So check us out in any of our splendid upcoming episodes. Share, like, rate, subscribe, all the good stuff. Until next time, though, happy trades.
Bye.
Two Bulls in a China Shop is an entertainment program, and all thoughts and opinions expressed in the show belong to the hosts and not of any company. They are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security or investment product. It is only intended to provide entertainment about stocks in the financial industry of trading. If you make trades based on what you hear in this show, you assume all risks for those trades.
Think about a bicycle. It takes balance to get where you want to go. Now think about business. Whatever your business or organization, you ride the line between numbers and people. Just like the bike, it takes balance. CLA, CPAs, consultants, and wealth advisors. That's CLA. We'll get you there. Clifton Larson Allen LLP. Investment advisory services are offered through Clifton Larson Allen Wealth Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
The people who looked through 200 resumes to fill a job also waited 40 minutes for their internet to dial up. You don't wait 40 minutes for your internet to dial up. You use Upwork to quickly hire talent.
This is how we work now.